Hey there, if you're ready to take your mobile notary and loan signing business to the next level, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Sign and Thrive podcast with Bill Soroka, that's me, and friends. Let's go and get it.
Go and get it. Go and get it. You won't go and get it while the night is young.
Hey everyone, as you're going out and getting it, remember that time is money. If you want to save 15 minutes per appointment and still stay in compliance and best practice standards for your notary journal, check out the Notary eJournal by Jurat Inc. It's designed to help improve your workflow and efficiency, and it allows you to capture signatures and fingerprints digitally right on your phone or tablet. This is the journal of the future. If you're ready to save time, money, and wow your customers, try the Notary eJournal for just $1 at notarycoach.com/eJournal. All right. Hello and welcome to the Sign and Thrive podcast. It's my pleasure, my honor to introduce you to Jim Allen. Jim Allen's a mobile notary and loan signing agent based out of Boise, Idaho. And he's also a Google business profile trainer just for notaries. So, Jim, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, Bill, thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you about this today.
Well, I think even before we started recording, we just said we're both equally passionate about what Google Business Profile, otherwise known as Google My Business. They just changed the names, guys. So Jim and I have been talking Google My Business for years, so we're probably just going to say that, but it's the same thing as the Google Business Profile now. But we're both equally passionate about it because we've seen the impact and the results that it gets, right, Jim?
Right. Yes. Yeah, for sure. You know, I started off this whole journey when I was a project manager for a marketing team. I actually was a project manager for an IT and marketing team almost at the same time, which is kind of unusual for, you know, either you're in IT or you're in marketing. So
right.
Kind of strange. Right. But I had the great pleasure of being able to do both. So I got to the next job after the project managing IT, I'd started into marketing, and I was part of a large organization where we had 800 plus brick and mortar stores. So my director was like, our next step in getting people through our doors, through these brick and mortar stores, was to optimize all of our Google My Business profiles. So that's kind of where the journey started for me. So I was tasked with all that. I had a team of people. And so we started in figuring out, okay, what do we have to do to make our Google My Business profiles productive, right? So we started into that journey, and I spent a couple of years really immersed in, at that time, Google My Business, now Google Business Profile. Help me say that right. So we really were successful. We were like on the leading edge of marketing in that area. We call that hyper-local marketing. And hyper-local marketing just says, you know, let's make sure all of our business information across all platforms is the same. And one of the biggest platforms that we wanted to operate on was, of course, Google Business Profile. And so I spent a couple years just immersed in that. And we really got some fantastic success off of it. And we were pushing ahead of our competitors. So our leadership was we're really happy with that. So I spent a lot of time training people. I would train VPs, store managers, directors, employees on how to effectively use their profile so that they could drive more traffic into the store. So fast forward, I decided corporate life, I'm done with you and goodbye. And so I left corporate world, plopped myself into a new business, being a loan sign agent, just like most of you. And then just started using all these marketing things I learned in my previous corporate life. And so that's where that kind of started. And it's been very successful since then for me.
Yeah, you said so much there, and there's so much that I want to talk about.
Yeah.
But since you just mentioned, leaving corporate life, there's so many of us in this mobile notary and loan signing community that got sick of corporate life. We were looking for a new business, and we wanted to be of service, and we wanted unlimited income, and that's one of those huge reasons why we love this business. But
Right.
you just talked about bringing your skill set from your past experiences into this business. And I think that's so valuable. And that's what I did too. I had a bunch of failed businesses and jobs and call center jobs and all of that. And I brought that with me into this industry. This particular industry just feels so ripe for innovation. And what is groundbreaking in this industry is kind of common business in so many other industries. That's shifting now. And I think more and more notaries are adopting or appreciating some of these modern marketing tactics, like Google My Business, search engine optimization, having a digital presence, and all of that. So one of the words that you mentioned is hyperlocal marketing. Mm-hmm. Can you define that a little easier for people who've maybe never heard of it?
Yeah. And Bill, this is something that kind of drives me nuts, is that, people will throw that SEO word around a lot. Right. And it really, there's some breakdown of that SEO term. And one of the terms is hyper-local marketing. And that is just simply saying, let's market in your local area because of how Google and other search engines are set up to find you. So like for Google, Google's looking for local businesses, right? So when somebody types in the search field, Notary Near Me, right? They're not going to find Bill Soroka in Arizona when they're here in Boise, Idaho. So that's hyper local, like very localized search results should come to the person who's searching. So
that's critically important for service, right?
It is. So it's really important that in hyperlocal marketing that you understand that your business information is consistent through all these different platforms, so it translates well for all the search engines and people can find you easily, right?
Yeah, when it comes to having a service-based business, that just seems like it is the absolute most important thing. But there's so many components of this, Jim. So how do people wrap their head around this? How does a notary, maybe with no marketing experience and no technical experience, figure this stuff out?
Yeah, well, it is. And that's why when I get my chance to talk with people, I like to break down that term SEO so they can start figuring out how to fit that into their business, right? So at the very least, the lowest hanging fruit everybody has is Google My Business. It's free, and it's free, it's free, and it's the most searched used search engine there is out there, right? We have Google, we have Bing, we have Yelp. There's other platforms that are being used for businesses, but really, I guess I'll say Google and Yelp are probably right up there. And Google is just, man, everybody, just think about this. What did you search for yesterday that you found on Google? And most people will say, oh, like 3 or 4 things. It's like, yeah. So we have to optimize our businesses to be found on Google. That's hyper local marketing right there.
Exactly. And I got to attend one of your classes a couple of weeks ago, which was spectacular, by the way. But one of the things we brought up is that Google loves Google. So when you're a small business and you use the Google business profile listing services and you do it well and you do it right? There's clearly a right way to do this and a not so right way to do this. Right. But when you use that, Google, the search engine, really prioritizes a profile that is optimized well and clearly used. So, when you think about it, Google just wants to pair up people who are looking for stuff and people who can provide that stuff, right? That's what
right.
makes Google valuable.
You're right. An under optimized Google profile will sit you down on the second or third or fifth page, right? Once you understand, and it's not rocket science to do this. The information's out there. It's just that, well, in my class, for example, I just condensed that down into 2.5 hours. And by that time you're done, it's like, oh, I know what I need to do, right? And so, So if you optimize and understand the strategies behind the Google My Business profile, then you kind of like become more popular in search, right? You're getting reviews, you're putting fresh content into the profile. People are starting to find you. Google's starting to realize that, oh, this person or this business actually is relevant in search. And they start ticking you up that page. And finally, you can get into that 3-pack. That's where we all want to be. When you do a Notary Near Me, you want to be on that first page for those first 3 listings, so that, that's where people are going to go. They rarely go to the 5th page to find you. So.
I never even bother with that. Yeah.
Yeah, never.
But what is the, I think there's this, I don't know. I think it kind of goes both ways, but on that first page of Google listings, there's this assumption that even those top 5 that are, it clearly says ad, but a lot of people miss that ad part. So are we talking about paying for advertising or paying for placement here, or is this more organic and free? For the beginner, I say organic. Let's get you started correctly. Let's get your page optimized. Let's get you into the habit of marketing on Google, right? And then paid ads, that's kind of a more advanced next level. And I certainly would not recommend it at all. I mean, if you have the budget, and you know how to work Google AdWords, then yes, or you have somebody that can help you with that, for sure. But for the beginner that is just getting their page verified, that they just don't have any idea about how to do anything on Google or how to optimize it, they're just like, I don't know what to do. Start with optimization. Start with getting your page up to snuff so that Google can start finding you and people can start finding you. Yeah, one of the I don't know. One of the things I started saying is the best time to start your SEO was this time last year. The second best time is today. Right, you've got to start that because even this idea of using an organic approach takes a little bit of time, Jim. Right?
Yes, it does. So, yeah, we all want things to happen almost instantly for us, including myself. I want something to happen tomorrow, but it does. It takes time for Google to recognize you, and it takes time for you to build up enough reputation, I guess is what we want to say, in the marketplace, in your local market, to start bumping you up into that organic listings on the first page on that 3-pack. Now, you can be really good at, and everyone can do this. You can be really good at optimizing your page, and you get bumped up into that 3-pack. Don't need to pay for advertising there, right?
Right.
You're already there. You're in that coveted spot. So, yeah, I think it's important.
Well, it's really important and underrated in so many different ways. And I wonder if you can highlight for us, because I think a lot of people don't believe it's free. What we're talking about, the power of what this profile can actually do. What's the difference between a notary who is working on growing their business in the specialty notary work realm, right? Because this may not just be for loan signing agents, because that's not how we get found a lot. Still important, but that's not how we get found. Right. But for specialty notary work, or what many people call general notary work, what's the difference between a notary that does a powerful Google business profile and one who does not?
Well, it all comes down to optimization. And once you have your profile optimized, I mean, if everything's equal, everyone has the same optimization, right? You get your profile done. Really, the main difference is content. that goes into this profile. So number one is that you're providing good, relevant content within the profile. That could be Google Posts. That could be your products and services. That could be making sure you have your website listed, your proper hours. But I think really after all that's said and done, and all things being equal, the thing that really is powerful in this space are reviews. Reviews are what move the needle, for sure. And the better you are at understanding the power of the review, right? I always tell people, all right, you're a consumer. You're out there looking for Mexican restaurants. You come across a listing that has 300 5-star reviews, and you see another listing that's no reviews. Which one are you going to choose? And of course, instantly everyone goes, well, I'm going to look at the 300. The one that has 300 reviews. Well, why?
Always.
Why? And, okay. So now they figured it out. Oh, because, well, that's trust. I mean, there's lots of people that have figured out that this restaurant is a good place to eat, right? So I want people to take their consumer glasses and put on their marketing glasses and understand from that perspective what you have to do to really move the needle on your business. And that is in reviews. So you want to get high quality reviews that speak about your business. You want to make sure that you get 5-star reviews. I mean, we don't always get 5-star, but that's our goal, right? We want to get 5-star reviews, and we want to respond to those reviews.
Yeah.
And we go into that quite a bit in my class. I spend a lot of time in just talking about how important reviews, how they move you up, and how they move the needle in your business. So yeah, it's not instantaneous. I mean, this takes time. This is a 30, 60, 90 day plan, right?
Yeah, maybe even longer, right? Depending on the geographic location.
Oh, it comes down to location, how densely populated you are, how much competition's in the local area, right? How long your listing has been around. I mean, there's a lot of different factors that involve this. But Bill, the thing is that most small businesses don't get it.
Yeah.
They don't get it. So you have this huge advantage to you because people in that space are mostly uneducated about how powerful their Google My Business profile is. Oops, see, I did it. Their Google business profile is.
Yeah.
So, and just learning these pieces and parts, especially understanding how reviews can move the needle for you, is so critical.
Yeah, I think it's an extremely underrated service, free service, but then also, it's intimidating. Yeah. And when you go out if you YouTube, also owned by Google, but when you search YouTube for Google My Business Assistance or Google Business Profile Help, it is so overwhelming. There's a lot of crap out there, and there's a lot of generalization there. And I think, yes, Jim, that's why I invited you to my show. Well, for a few reasons, but you're a dot connector in this industry as well. And that's what I like to call myself too. I'm a dot connector, and I draw the line from one place to another. And you do that with Google Business Profile just for notaries, because there's some nuance to us. We're mobile. We're on the road a lot. We're providing a service. Our fee structures vary from state to state. So all of that has to be taken into consideration. So I love that you've taken this on. That's another great example of a value that you found to bring to the industry. But before we get into that even anymore, I want to go back to the reviews because I think you've nailed it. Reviews are so powerful. Out of curiosity, how do you ask for reviews at your appointments?
Yeah, that is probably the number one question in class that when we start talking about reviews, that's what everyone wants to know. For some reason, people get hung up on that ask, and I'm not sure why. So number one, we want to make sure we cherry pick reviews. And what do I mean by cherry pick? Well, I want to ask for a review from somebody that it's like they're sitting across the table from me, and it's like we could be friends. We could go out to dinner and just have a great time. This is the person that I have built rapport with, and I've kind of like earned the right to ask for that review, I think, because of the rapport that I've built. So while I'm finishing up my work, putting stuff away in my bag, whatever I'm doing, I'm going to mention to them, hey, it's really been great helping you today with your documents. Would you mind leaving me a review to help me build my business so I get more great customers just like you? And they're like, oh yeah, Jim, no problem, not a problem. What do I need to do? And so I have on my phone, I've got a pre-formatted text that I copy and paste into text. There's probably different ways to do that, but I take that text, I paste it in and I text that to them with my link. And that's how I have really gained a lot of great reviews just using that method. Don't overthink it. I think a lot of people are like, oh, I got to have QR codes or I got to do this or that. No, slow down. Just don't overthink it. Just ask, because you have earned the right to do that. Now, I don't want to ask everybody. There's sometimes a grumpy old guy sitting across from me. I'm signing his refi or his reverse mortgage, and he just wants me out of there. It's like, no, I'm not going to.
He's not a candidate for a review. Yeah.
He's not a candidate. I'm very strategic on who I ask, and there's reasons why I do that. And that's why I get great.
Thank you so much for sharing that. What I heard when you're speaking, and I love that you get strategic about it, but it's a habit too, right? Because if you sporadically do it, you get sporadic results. But if you just consistently like, oh, we're clicking, I'm going to ask this person. I know they're going to say yes. I know they're going to do a 5-star review. And then you made it easy for them. If you make people work to give you reviews, it's not happening, right? If they got to look you up on Google, I've heard some people say, oh, just find me on Google or find me on Yelp. I'm like, that's not happening. But if you send them the exact link, like here's where you post your review, it can surprise you. And I think in my experience, I get about an 80%, maybe even 90% follow through rate. How do you handle if somebody says they will and they don't? Do you do anything?
Nope.
Awesome.
I tell people, this might sound a little harsh, but I'm going to say it anyway. So buyers are liars. And I always give this example, like, all right, yeah, maybe they didn't give you a review when they said they would, but remember when you were on that car lot and you said to that salesman, yeah, I'll be back, we'll talk later, and you never showed up? It's the same thing. So sometimes people get busy. Some people are like, yeah, I don't like to do reviews, but I'm gonna tell them I'm gonna do it anyway. It's just that. And so move on.
You don't take it personal.
Because I don't take it personal. Just move on. You're going to find another person that's going to give you a review. And the other thing I really want to say about reviews, Bill, that is probably the second most important thing that you can do in reviews is, and I think you kind of alluded to this a little bit, but is to be consistent, right? So one thing that in the Google algorithm, Google likes to see consistency, right? You don't want to go out and get 20 reviews and stop for a year and then do it next year, right? No, you want to go 2 to 3 reviews every month, just a nice little cadence, or whatever cadence that you think you can get. Mine's 2 to 3. Well, actually 3. I'm sorry, 3 to 4. That's what I kind of shoot for. But I just want that nice cadence in there. So Google's like not picking me out and saying, oh, this guy is slamming reviews. Right. You don't want to do that.
That's really good advice. And the beautiful thing about this business is for so many different reasons, but when you're out doing the work, you're meeting new people every day. That gives you an opportunity to build a relationship, to ask for those reviews. So it does build almost a pipeline for this. Now, the other beautiful thing that's coming through is in your particular style for asking for reviews is if you focus on your 2 main responsibilities as a mobile notary or a notary public, your 2 main responsibilities are to first deliver your product as an expert, like know your stuff inside and out. They're paying you for this service. You're competent, you're confident, you get it done professionally. And number two is that you lay the foundation for a relationship that could last beyond one single transaction. And that's what you're talking about when you talk about, these are somebody I could hang out with for dinner. When you take this approach to this business, the world opens up for you. There are people I signed 8 years ago that we're still in contact with. I still get invited to their parties.
Right.
That's the opportunity here. When you're 100% present, you show some personality, some authenticity, maybe even some vulnerability, and you follow through on what you promise. So there's huge opportunity here. But why go through all this, Jim? I'm curious because now you have your own personal experience with Google Business Profile in Boise of all places, right? And then you've now taught. Let's talk about results. Like, I'll give you an example of where I'm going here. I've got a notary in Chicago, really awesome, who is part of an experiment with Google Business Profile and SEO, whose phone went from sporadic rings for general notary work to 30 to 40 calls more per month. What kind of results are you getting?
For sure.
Or hearing about?
I have to agree with that. So early on in my notary career, I was focusing on loan signings, right? We were all getting fat off of loan signings. I had no time for general notary work. And I got to be honest, Bill, I kind of poo-pooed general notary work. I jumped on Clubhouse. I started listening to Laura Buer, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm missing out. And plus loan signings started slowing down a little bit. So I really put the gas on this, right? And so I can see where I started and where that little line started jumping up. So my goal, what I was telling everybody, my goal is 20%, 30% of my business to be general notary work. So I have a nice mix. I have loan signings, I have directs, I have signing services, and I have general notary work. So it's turned out to be true. It's turned out that 25 to 30% of my business right now is general notary work. And just like you said, that little experiment that you're doing with the person in Chicago, my phone rings consistently every day. I was like, I've got something coming in. I don't know what it is. That's kind of the weird thing about our industry. People need a notary now. They don't schedule you for like 2 weeks out. I'm going to need that POA done 2 weeks out. Well, there's a couple times that happens, but most of the time I need it now. So, that's been my experience, and that's just I'm happy with the result.
Yeah, I think that's huge, and it gives people just a tangible idea of what's possible. And in Chicago in particular, that's highly competitive. I mean, that's millions of people and all the little sub-cities. Yeah. And then also there's you're in Boise, which is what population? I know they're growing like crazy, but what is it, 1 million or so?
Yeah, I think we're right under 1 million here, and it's really spread out. So yeah.
Fantastic results.
So, people that are in highly populated areas, oh my gosh. See, the advantage that you have over me is that you have population. Yeah, you have competition, but realize the competition doesn't really know what they're doing on their Google Business Profile. You simply, just by the knowledge of what to do, are going to outrank many of those. Not all, because some of them do know what they're doing, right? But at least you can come up into competition with them. And some of those you can boot down to the bottom behind you. So,
and then it's huge. And then what you're looking for is just an opportunity to say yes. You want that phone to ring,
right?
So then you can qualify, make sure that you can be of service, build a relationship, and get the appointment. And I think when you do this work the right way, when you get the appointment, they're in. They've got you're going to be their preferred notary if you show up with presents and with not gifts, but with 100 presents.
Right. Well, we like
gifts. But that leads me to an interesting question because, without getting into too much detail here on the podcast, right? And I know you go over this in your training, but I think when you talk about putting on your marketing glasses, I think putting on consumer glasses is super important for choosing keywords, right? because so many people don't know what a notary public actually does or why they need a notary or the types of documents that they need to have notarized. Because somebody just says, hey, go get a notary. So what are some of your tips for choosing keywords for your Google business profile?
Well, it comes down to your category, your business category, and most people operate under notary public. I mean, you can, if you're a paralegal or a real estate agent, you can add those categories into your business, but it kind of dilutes the power of it, right? Because the categories may be similar, but they're far enough apart. It's kind of it may dilute you. But keywords, I mean, Notary Near Me is like the key word right now. Everyone does anything notary or anything near me. So Notary Near Me really localizes that search right down to where that search is happening. So, you certainly don't want to keyword stuff things, but you do want to optimize your Google posts or your products and services with the things that people are searching for. So, wills, POA, power of attorney, those are all kind of keywords that people use in search. But I'll say most of it's like notary and then the name of your city, or notary near me, or traveling notary, So there's a number of different kinds of keywords that come up and that you'll be found for just with being in that category of notary.
Yeah, and there's some services that help you identify what some of the keywords are that people are searching for too.
For sure.
But it always blows my mind the misconceptions or the misspellings or the public notaries or the notary republic, those types of keywords.
Oh yeah,
and that's what I mean by the consumer glasses. When you use those types of keywords, and recognize that we're looking at it from our perspective with our training as notaries. So, but
right.
If you look at it from a consumer who only uses a notary once a year or once every couple of years for their last will and testament or their estate planning update, you can learn a lot about the consumer experience and carve a niche out for yourself that way.
Yeah. Well, I always ask people when they call me, I was like, wow, how'd you find me? And they'll say Google. And I said, well, how did you find me? Right. It's like, and a lot of them do say, I'll say probably 9 times out of 10 people are saying, yeah, I did like Notary Near Me, or I just put in the word notary, or I did notary in the city and the city name. So that's what I find typically that people are doing, how they're finding me on my Google business profile.
How does social media tie into your particular business?
Well, I'll say this is that I have social media. It's not my cornerstone, but I use it as a listing, right? So like you should have a Facebook business page, and you should post to it. I'm not as strong there as I am on Google because, and this is why I've only had a few people reach out to me on my Facebook profile, but I have 99% of people reach out to me through my Google business profile. That's how people are finding me. When people are looking for a notary, it's usually for a pretty urgent reason, right? Like I said before, people aren't looking for you to schedule you out 2 weeks and say, come over here on Tuesday at 4 in 2 weeks. No, usually it's because it's an urgent situation. Mom's in the hospital. I got to get I'm changing jobs, or I'm selling some sort of property, and this has to be done now. So that Google profile, it really comes into play there because everybody searches on Google. How many times have you gone to Bing to search for something, Bill?
I have I never. When Bing pops up when I buy a new computer, because Microsoft always is trying to force me to use it, I'm like, how do I adjust this? How do I get off of this? Never.
You're right. Delete. All right. That's how I do it. I was like, I'm going to Google. And so so social media does come into play. I know a lot of people use social media, but in my opinion, social media for me is not as powerful as my Google profile. That's where search traffic is originating.
I think that's a really great demonstration of where to focus your energies for sure. And
Right.
because people they only need a notary when they need a notary. They're not going to be on social media. I think social media can be a great enhancement and a way to do your branding, sharing your additional content, but you've got to weave it into your Google business profile as well.
Well, I think you need to know your audience, right? Okay, what audience are you going after? Now, if I'm gonna start marketing to like escrow officers are not going to find me on Google. They just do not use Google to find most of the time to find notaries. They use different platforms. They'll go to all these different Notary, Rotary, or these kinds of platforms to find a notary. And even the public. Well, let me go back. I kind of got off track here. So if I'm if I am going to go after escrow officers, I'm going to go towards LinkedIn. Yeah. That's where I'm going to do my marketing, right? If I'm going to go after the general or specialty notary work, I'm going to go back over to Google Business Profile and I'm going to hit it there. So I think there's different areas to market based upon your demographic that you're going after. And certainly Google Business Profile, if you're going after and you want to build your general or specialty notary work, this is where you need to go for that. And that's my focus. That's what I teach. I don't get into the weeds on these other platforms. I'm very, get very focused in on Google Business Profile for general and specialty notary work.
I love that. And I think that's what makes it so helpful because it gets in the weeds with all that other stuff. But when you stay laser focused and you connect the dots for everyone, that's why I'm so excited that we are pairing up and sharing your class with so many in the notary community. Jim, I will have the links to your classes on my website at notarycoach.com. But is there anything else that any other advice or anything else you'd like to share with other notaries who are out there looking to build a business that's going to last no matter what the economy is doing? Yeah.
Well, our business is cyclical. So we all are feeling a little bit of the pinch of, at least in my area, loan signings are starting to soften a little bit. So we have to be able to pivot into different areas of notary work. And this is the lowest hanging fruit for you. And this is something you could change today to make a difference for your tomorrow in your business, right? So just knowing these principles, knowing these concepts, if this is the business that you want more general notary business, then, you got to figure out where your audience is. And in my opinion, I think it's on Google when people search for Notary Near Me. And you've got to start building up your reputation, your presence, your relevance online so that you can be found. It's free. Did I mention it's free? And it's the number one place where people go to find notaries. It's a fact. So I would just want to encourage people to figure out how to optimize their Google profile so that they can draw more customers to them.
Yeah, it's time to stop making excuses for not doing this,
right?
And take yourself on and learn how to do this because it's at this point I would say it's make or break of a business. Mm-hmm. If you plan to have a business that's going to last, you have got to have a strong digital presence, and the Google Business Profile is a key foundation of that. But as you're speaking too, I was here about to let you go, but one thing we haven't talked about yet is because we focused on specialty and general notary work, is there all the other services that so many of us do, whether it's fingerprinting, the apostille work, the field inspections, all of that can be optimized on a Google Business Profile too, right?
Exactly. Let me just take, for example, apostille work. And so I just recently got involved in that as I'm putting that into my business function, right? So I got confident. I was like, okay, it's time to pull the trigger and say yes. And so I optimized, I put some things into my Google My Business profile. I listed it on a post, and 5 days later, guess what I did? I had a phone call from a business downtown Boise. He's like, I read on your Google profile, he read on Google that you do apostille work. And I said, yes. I loved it. I was like, oh yeah. And
wow.
Yeah. So, a couple hours later, I had completed an apostille for this guy. He was ecstatic. And he was like, wow, I can't believe that you did what you did so quickly. And so I was like, well, I would have never got that business had I not optimized that page to reflect that. Fingerprinting, the same thing. Any of these different little subsections of notary work can be optimized on your profile, and you can start drawing in traffic for that.
I'm so glad that we had that last little bit of conversation. I know that's going to be so critical because earlier you were talking about diversification. And diversification, I don't care what business you're in or not even in a business if you're in life, diversifying your investments, diversifying your portfolio, wherever that portfolio is critical to your peace of mind, wealth building, the whole deal. So in your business, when you said, I've got some business coming from signing companies, some business coming from direct, some business coming in from general notary work or specialty notary work, that's diversification. Then you add apostille work. Then you might adding all these other elements to their business. And that's what helps even out some of the cycles.
Yeah, right. There you go. Cycles.
The cycles of this business is sometimes loan signings go down, sometimes specialty notary work goes up, field inspections go up, whatever it is that you have going on. There's a way to balance this out because we're all here for how you started this conversation out, Jim. You got sick of corporate life. You don't want to work for other people. You're here because you want your time back. You want to spend it doing the things you love with the people you love. You want unlimited wealth or income possibilities, at least, no matter what. You want the choice to decide how much you're going to get paid. Right. And then we all want something that we can be proud of. And I think that this business under the notary umbrella gives us all that.
It does. I agree. You summed it up. That is it.
Jim,
we just have to figure out how to make that happen, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Good.
And that's what these conversations are all about. So, Jim, thank you so much for being here and sharing so much of yourself. I'm excited to share you and the course and the value that you bring with many more in our community.
Well, Bill, thank you. And you are a leader in this area for notaries, helping us be better at what we do. And I know I say this for a lot of different people, a lot of people out there, that we all appreciate what you do and how you support us. So thank you, Bill. We love you. Thank you.
Thank you. It's absolutely my pleasure. Glad we're here together. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Sign and Thrive podcast for notaries, brought to you by the Notary e-Journal. Notaries that are diligent about compliance and committed to customer service are loving this journal. Here's what Danielle has to say.
Hi, I'm Danielle, a notary signing agent in California, exclusively using Notary eJournal since August 2020. My favorite features are those that make the process more efficient while remaining diligent about compliance. Scanning the information off the signer's ID ensures accuracy. Commonly notarized documents are preloaded and searchable, which speeds along the process and allows me to focus on compliance and service without sacrificing record keeping. The Notary eJournal has enhanced my productivity and allowed me to provide better service.
Did you catch that? Commonly used document titles are preloaded and searchable. It's another awesome feature that helps notaries be more efficient at the signing table, especially when you're handling mortgage loan or estate planning packages. Check out some of those preloaded documents in the Notary eJournal for yourself. Try it for just $1 at notarycoach.com/eJournal.